Well, hello. My name is Revd Tim Bell, and I'm priest in charge of St Helen's Church in Ore with St Barnabas, and also the parish of Christchurch Ore, both of which are in the wonderful seaside town of Hastings. And I'm joined today by Kizzy Penfold, who is ordinand studying at Trinity Theological College in Bristol, and she's due to be ordained on the 26th of June, where she'll be joining us as our curate. Hi, Kizzy. How are you doing?
Hi, yeah, I'm good, thank you. Good to see you.
And you, and you. Could you just give us a brief background into your kind of vocational journey, how you've ended up here?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in vicarages in the Diocese of Chester, so Chichester, kind of easy to confuse. It's interesting because I loved growing up in church. I don't remember a time when I didn't believe in God and loved worshipping Him, and I was always grateful for the church family, but I never really actually considered ordained ministry for myself. I just didn't think about it. From quite a young age, I've been really passionate about social justice and issues of poverty, and so I actually was more interested in kind of pursuing international development and toyed with medicine or trying to figure out what would be a really practical way to be like helpful in the world. And so when I was about 18, 19, I moved to Brighton to study international development at the University of Sussex. And I thought I'd be going into the aid sector, totally different vision for what I thought I would be doing. And while I was there, I was a member of St Peter's Brighton, quite a big church in the city centre, and I really loved it there. And while I was, just as I finished university, they happened to plant a church in Whitehawk, which is an estate off to the side of the city. And I actually ended up working there instead of abroad, overseas. And I was there children, families and youth worker for 4 years. I think it was during that season really in that estate church where I really felt God was calling me into ordained ministry. And I think it came as a little bit of a surprise, but I probably was slightly reluctant at first. And I think not because I didn't love God and love the church, but I just was aware it felt like quite a big responsibility and quite, I suppose, like a weighty call, not in a negative sense, just, yeah, weighty. And so I treasured it in my heart and I kept it to myself for quite a long time. But God was really faithful in gently prodding and confirming that call to me through His word and through other people. And so eventually I took that seriously, and I've been studying at Trinity College for the last 3 years. So I think that's more or less the abridged version.
Thank you so much. It's quite hard to get it down. So
Yeah.
Thank you. So you're at Trinity Theological College, and obviously this last year for all of us has been so very different. How has lockdown been for you in preparing for your ordination and moving into curacy?
I mean, I think for my husband Dave and I, in many senses, we have been quite fortunate in lockdown. I know some people have just had an awful time, and so I'm reluctant to complain too much about it because we were quite fortunate. I could carry on studying from home, and through some of it, he's been working up at Trinity College actually as a cleaner. Anyway, he carried on work some of the time, and we were able to go on lots of walks, and it was quite a calm season, I think, for us on the whole. But what I did notice is I just really missed the community, and I think partly in preparing me for ordination, I've just gained a fresh appreciation for church again, because I just realised that for me, I find when we worship together, it's so life-giving, it builds me up, and it's faith-building, I think, to hear others singing and others praying. And I really missed just naturally being able to pray for one another when you're in the same place and you see that someone's hurting, or being able to rejoice together when something really exciting happens. And so I've just really missed that. And I think so more than anything, it's just given me a fresh reason not to take church for granted and to be excited to just be back together. Mm-hmm. I think the same with communion. It doesn't feel quite the same, does it, to celebrate through the screen? And so communion is just such a special leveler. It brings us all to the same table. I'm kind of excited to be back able to do that together properly.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think we've all learned from that, isn't it? We shouldn't take these things for granted, and being together is so much more valuable than we actually realised.
Yeah.
So what are your hopes and concerns about what's ahead for the next 12 months as you move over to Hastings?
Yeah, we're really looking forward to, in terms of hopes, just getting to know a new church family and settle into the community. But we just have quite a lot on our plate at the moment, so there's a lot of adjustment all at once for us. So we'd be moving from Bristol to Hastings in a couple of weeks' time. And obviously then ordination is the end of the month, and I'm actually currently expecting our first baby, so they'll be due in October. So I'll be working for about 3 months and then taking maternity leave. So it's not really a concerns like anything is bad, but it's just lots of change ahead, lots of exciting things to look forward to, but lots to kind of process and handle all at once. I suppose, maternity leave for the most of the next 12 months will be I suppose my primary focus. So it's interesting having this really significant service of ordination before that to think about, and then a little bit of time to settle in before I adjust my focus again. Yeah.
No, we're really excited, and really excited for both of you that you're going to be with us as you expect this wonderful new life, and us being part of that. It's going to be a real privilege for all of us.
Thank you.
What do you think are the greatest challenges facing the church in the immediate future and long term as your kind of ministry unfolds?
Sorry, just my college study buddy. I was thinking about this. I recognise this in Whitehawk actually. I think the church is facing kind of a generation of people that don't know anything really about Christianity at all. So there was just one incident that stuck out in my mind. Two teenagers came into St Cuthman's in Whitehawk once, and there's a huge crucifix hanging at the front, and they were like, "Who is that? What is that about?" And I think as a nation, having had the parish churches, it used to just be so much more of a given that people would be part of their church, maybe even at least for key life events, and they might, as part of a community, know something about Christianity, or a lot of people used to attend Sunday schools and things. And I think now we're kind of reaching almost complete biblical illiteracy. And so the way that our systems are set up kind of focus towards assuming that people know a little bit about Jesus already. And I'm not convinced that anymore they do, maybe for a second generation or so. I'd say that's not necessarily bad, like that's not a problem, but it gives us a challenge in thinking about how we communicate with people from complete scratch, rather than assuming that they know where we're coming from. I think there's a lot more preconceptions about church than actual experience of church.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It is a real challenge for all of us how we get out there and proclaim the gospel when people have no real connection to church anymore. Having said all that, what's the single thing that gives you hope in Christianity in Britain?
I think I'm really big on hope. I end up, a lot of the things I preach about, whatever the passage, I seem to come back to hope. I think with Jesus, we don't really have any excuse not to be hopeful. And what he's doing in any one season might look completely different, but I think though the church in our country might be small, I think it's far from dead. I think even through lockdown, I found hope in that might have looked like a season that was bleaker, and even though it's been really difficult and painful, I think actually God has been able to work even through that and to use it for his glory. Like we've seen thousands and probably millions of people, isn't it something like 1 in 4 adults in the UK Googled prayer during lockdown? I think God is faithful, and that is always a cause for hope.
That's fantastic. So we're really excited about you joining us very shortly over here in Hastings, but how can we be praying for you as you make this transition?
Thanks for praying for us. Yeah, just I think lifting up all of the changes. Obviously, yeah, praying for us for wisdom as we take on lots of new roles at once. Wisdom in ministering as deacon and wisdom in becoming a parent. Yeah, we'd be so grateful for your prayers for that. I think I'd be really grateful for people to be able to pray. Just I think with all the change ahead and with baby on the way, I don't want to sort of to lose sight of the significance of the ordination itself. And so I think, yeah, praying for sort of some space with God to be able to process that really well before, before starting in the new role and before baby comes would be really great. And also, I think praying for Dave is always really important as well, because he's been so supportive, and yeah, he's uprooted twice just to support me in this call. So he's moved from Brighton to Bristol and then Bristol to Hastings, and I think that's a lot of change for him as well. It'd be good to pray as he settles in.
Excellent. We'll be praying for all those things. And thank you so much for joining us today, and we really look forward to you being here with us in Hastings.
Thanks so much.
God bless.
Bye.